Hey guys, Jeremy here from Environmentarian, and I'm just going to do a little bit about branding and logo design, so let's dive in. So I've got a brand new Google tab open here, and we can see already a few logos and icons up the top. As we cruise down, we can see some other ones: ABLW Display, Environmentarian, and the Hemp Building Directory. And if we look at the history, I don't mind you guys seeing my history. This one's from Jeremy's iPhone, Chrome history, and so we can see all those tiny little logos and icons taken from other devices. We can see all these different icons or logos over here. And so if we dig a little bit deeper and have a look at sort of Hempscape or Hemp Building Directory, Gmail, we can see that the ABC logo and the Gmail logo, well, ABC, it says ABC News over here, but we instantly recognize it. It's iconic. It's an iconized version of their logo. Whereas if we look at Naked Wines, it's just kind of hard to see straight away what that is. And then if we look at, Grand Brasserie in Surrey Hills, is that the name of the restaurant? Bar Julius, that looks like the name of the restaurant. So I think if I just open up these two for examples, and then, maybe I'll open up the Hemp Building Directory and Hempscape. So we started off with Grand Brasserie, and in fact, it's Amorica, okay? So Amorica, you can see their logo up here, and that A, and we reference that A, yep, okay, so that's the branding, this beautiful kind of fancy designed website, and yeah, so that looks quite nice. I'll close that off. Bar Julius, we can see it says liquid and larder. I don't know what that swirl is here. Maybe it's L&L, maybe, but it doesn't say Bar Julius when we click in. Maybe this is underneath, yeah, another venue. So Liquid and Lager must be the group, and then Bar Julius is the venue name. And then if we look at the Hemp Building Directory, the logo and those colors, which are very similar to the Hemp Building Directory, and then Hempscape, that logo is very clear that it's the same color on these buttons and the menu and such. So if we were going to keep moving forward to dig a bit deeper into logos and how they've become sort of things that are almost iconic, they're icons or iconized version of a logo. You can see Studio Dennis here. When it's a little bit smaller, we can still read that Studio Dennis, and then when it gets bigger, we can read it a bit better. If we click into the Studio Dennis Facebook page, we can see that logo fits inside that circle really neatly. And that logo is quite recognizable. If I was to have a look over at our branding page, I worked with Andrew from Studio Dennis, and he had the logo to begin with. Andrew designed the logo, the font, and that font formed the logo, and that logo has informed the branding board as well as his iconic imagery. He often uses blues and pinks, so that's why we picked those colors. For other reasons as well, we'll get into colors in another video. But here I just wanted to point out the logo is Studio Dennis, and then the web icon is SD, so that's a little bit different. And so going back to Studio Dennis, if we clicked through to their website, we can see the Studio Dennis logo there, but also the iconized version of the logo. And we can instantly see that when we look at the tab, we're definitely on that website. So it's very clear to us, doesn't matter how many tabs we've got open, that's the tab we're going for. And so we're being subtly branded. It's not just handy for searching, but we're also got that midnight blue and that white with that SD, that font that Andrew has hand designed as part of the logo. And we go into Instagram, so that Instagram doesn't have an I, but it's a very recognizable Instagram. I've done a search for dogs, and we can see this big dog walking logo, that black silhouette with the dog with the leash. Definitely looks like a doggy wanting to go for a walk. If we click in, then the logo gets smaller, but we can still see quite clearly that it's a dog potentially with a leash, but now we know it's a leash, that's what it is. As we hover, it gets a little bit bigger. So it works at sort of all those different sizes, which is what we're after. So here I am on my homepage of Pinterest, and if I did a search for, let's just search for logos. Let's see what comes up. So we can see all these sort of logos that come up. These are sort of very iconic kind of logos. Crush, visit site, client work. So there's Adelia has made a comment, and Sogki. So we can see some of the logos at play here. And so they're like in this little circle. So hovering around my profile circle, you can see my personal image, and that's my personal brand, but it also is kind of iconic as well. If we're going to look at the Environmentarian website and the Environmentarian logo, we've got this iconized version of the logo here, and we can see that on the tab as well. So this is the logo has informed the design of the website, of the buttons, and as we scroll down, even these headings are sort of dark green. So this blog post is just a very sort of top level look into the different elements of a branding kit. And so instead of doing branding kits for my clients, I often just do simplified branding boards, often just to get started. That's all we need. So that's ABW's branding board. And if I just bring up the ABW website, which I also run, that ABW website has got the same branding as the logo. That logo has informed the design of the branding. So we can see how the logo, the iconic sort of look of the logo, and we can see that icon up there, informs the branding board, which then informs the design of the website. And if we look at Southern Hemp, I suggested we could go for this sort of yellow and blue look. They decided to stick with their original green, and then we've got the Southern Hemp logo, and then we've had to settle on this sort of S. So if I bring up the southernhemp.au website, the original logo has informed the branding board design, and then that branding board has been used to apply the colors to the website. And so if we look at the top icon in the corner here, we can see that S is where the icon is. So going back to branding boards, look, I think it's very important to pull together a branding board, and starting with the logo. So if we look at the Hempscape, which we touched on earlier, there was a lot of back and forth, probably about a month, a bit longer, and it started off with a logo design brief, and that was all written down on a document, and we talked about it being building supplies. Andrew suggested he liked the idea of the mandarin colors, that orange and green, so we sort of fed that into the branding document, and then we came up with the logo concepts. And so we've used different methods to come up with the logo concepts. I've done some hand-drawn, I've done some on Canva, we've fed it into AI, and then we've also had the the graphic designer come back to us with some ideas. So that's these ones here. And if we click this one open, we can see that this was our sort of favored logo design, the one that floated up to the top, and that was based on our branding brief. So it was clear that we wanted to make sure that we had the favicon or the apicon, and that's the little logo that's in the top of the website. And comes up all across your online narrative. So it is important to really get that right. And then that design has informed the final design of the logo, which has finally made the design onto the website. And then this is, that logo could be used for printing, for documents, for all kinds of things. So, getting that logo correct originally, but also knowing that you're going to have an iconized version of the logo is really important. So we're just going to jump onto the whiteboard quickly and just sort of talk about how that process might happen. You might want to start off with a document listing out all the different things you might want, like if it's a building company or a health company or fitness or dog walking, whatever it happens to be. Write it all down and then decide, what kind of colors you might want or something like that. And so, and then on the board, you might say, let's say it's a building company, and say, it's a building company, you might want, building blocks, let's say. And so, that could maybe be sort of a logo, and then it might be, build. And so we do a couple of different iterations, and we're like, all right, build. Is that going to be our logo? Maybe. Look, it does fit in there. And then maybe if we're going to do an iconized version of that, then we know that the build actually fits inside there. And so we know that that's sort of two different versions of the logo, and that sort of inform the other. Let's say we're going to do like a health brand, and it's a happy health brand. So the happy health brand has a sort of happy H here, and we write it out like this. And these are sort of ideas that we're going to sort of pass on to our branding designer, and then we can do this back and forth between the branding designer and the client, yourself, and then myself, and then together we'll all come up with a sort of best idea. And so that H there, that is that sort of happy H with the eyes, and you might have different colors and stuff, but we know that H is going to fit inside that circle, and it'll look good, really, really small as well. We'll be able to see that it's an H, it's a happy H with the eyes there. So jumping back into Google here, we can see those logos again, but I'm going to go a little bit further if you're happy to bear with me. And what about if we look up some like Asian writing characters? Asian writing characters. There they are, they're coming up. So here are some images of some Asian writing characters. And we can see they are sort of iconic. They're for people that read this kind of writing, they're instantly recognizable. So they kind of look like little icons. Like if we look in here, the sun, the moon, the mountain, water, these little icons are really interesting. And then what if we went for Japanese, mind my spelling, characters? And again, those sort of characters are very iconic. And so those icons could be, they're not far from potentially being logos. And then another last one I'll bring up here is hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics, again, mind my spelling, but again, if we looked at these hieroglyphics, we bring this up, we can see that the hieroglyphics are kind of like little logos. They're little icons. So if we sort of look back, all the way back to the Egyptians, they sort of had this idea that our mind recognizes things in pictures. Our brain reads in pictures. We see the whole word, even though there's all these different letters, we see it as a picture. And so having a picture that tells your brand story instantly is really important. So I hope that's been helpful. So that's my little bit about logos. If you did want to speak further about your logo, your business, that's what I'm here for. And we could start with a logo brief, which we would develop together and then send that off to a graphic designer or run it through AI, see what came up with. And then, once we've got 10 or 12 logos, we can start crossing ones off the bottom and decide, all right, that's sort of more the direction we're going. From there, we develop the logo and make sure we're happy with the different colors, the different tones of the colors, make sure that it works as sort of a larger icon and then as a much smaller icon, a larger logo, potentially on a banner in print, or on a larger section of a website, but also as an iconized version of that logo. So, it works well on a tab or as an apicon or a favicon in all those little spots that we thought about earlier. So if you did want to talk further about your business, about your logo, feel free to reach out. My name's Jeremy from Environmentarian, and be good to get something started, get the conversation going so that we can make sure we get your branding right now, because something like, the Nike swoosh or the Macca's M, these things are sort of iconic designs that we remember forever. And so we really want to take the time to get the logo right. If you get the logo right, then it will see you through for the next 5, 10, 20 years. I can tell you, I've made my mistakes. the Hemp Building Directory logo wasn't right the first time, the colors were terrible the first time, and it's taken a huge process to adapt all that. I'm still going through the website and finding old logos in old videos. Then they're going to be there forever. You know, that's why I didn't change it too much from the original logo. And then, so with Environmentarian, I knew which direction I was going with that. It's just, what I'm trying to say is, you know, I've made the mistake, so you don't have to. And so that way we can make sure we have this broader conversation about how a logo and an icon really need to be iconic, because the logo, the colors, the look will inform the branding board, and the branding board will inform the website design or print materials like a business card, or, you know, maybe you're putting some graphics on a van or a vehicle, or, you know, print, packaging, whatever. It's really important that when you're starting off on your branding journey, that you get that logo right the first time, because it informs everything else. So I hope that's been helpful. As I say, hit me up at environmentarian.au, and, you know, hopefully we can do something great. See you later.